Welcome to another episode of All Business No Bull. Today I have the distinct pleasure of having as our special guest an individual that I happened to meet about a month ago as I was attending a Mount Dora, Florida street fair. That individual is Mr. Andy Thompson. Andy is the proud owner of two cigar establishments. One is Legacy Cigar, and the other one is Hemingway's. And it is with my greatest pleasure and honor that I'd like to introduce you to our special guest today, Mr. Andy Thompson. Hi, Andy.
Hey, James. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you so much. Now, Andy, just before we started, we started just now, we happened to be touching upon a theme that I think is very well connected to your personal experience. In most holy books, there's a theme that I've never heard any pastor discuss in any sermon, and that's one of migration. We've all heard that one can't run away from their problems, but I don't necessarily agree with that. Sometimes the problem is the actual physical, geographical location. Sometimes it's just circumstances we're in, and sometimes it's just a metamorphosis, growing out of where we currently are into the next phase of our life. And I think that that's very applicable to your situation. Can you tell us about that?
I can, and I think sometimes migration also has to do with opportunity. You kind of go where you need to go. Now, like I said, I have a deep faith in God, and I believe He's led me to where I am. I worked in a corporate setting for many years. I drove a truck and then went into the office. Finally, I got promoted, moved to Georgia. And then during COVID, I was let go. And now what do? You're a 50-year-old getting fired from your job. What do you do? So I started looking around. I could have got a job there. I could have continued on with my life, but I honestly felt there was something more. I had been attending church and I pray a lot, and I think for that, I think things drop in my lap when I need them. And so as I was just sitting on a computer one day, this place came up for sale, and it's perfect for me. My parents are getting older. They live in DeLand, so moving this close was good. Far enough away from them where it's okay, but close enough where I go see them when I need to. There's a few more steps in all that journey, but it did lead me here, and I opened it up and I moved to Tavares. Great town, absolutely phenomenal town. They brought me in and wrapped their arms around me and really took to this place. So that's where I came from. My journey from Georgia and that getting let go. So that hurts your pride. Mm-hmm. Anytime Definitely. You get let go, it hurts your pride. So you're already down a little bit. So as you pray and ask for the next step, it happens. And I think everything that I went through before has led me here and allowed me to do what I do here. And I feel like I've been successful at it. And of course, there's more to it. There's staff, the landlords and everything plays a piece in your success. I don't think anybody can actually just go up and do it. You take Elon Musk. Mm-hmm. He's an idea guy. He doesn't build anything. He's an idea guy. He backs it with his money and then has smarter people than him actually do the work. So I'm not saying I'm that smart, but that's kind of the way it is you bring good people into your life, and I think you get good return out of it.
Many people who'll be watching today will be able to resonate with what you're saying. Now, hear me out, because I'm not sure if this is 100% applicable or not. But many of us are perhaps tied to a job in the same way that a child is tied to his mother through an umbilical cord, which inevitably breaks, as it needs to break in order for the child to be born. In your previous career, did you feel that you were perhaps reached the pinnacle where you've got as much out of it, and although it was a painful experience, that was really what you needed, or perhaps what God mandated for you at that time?
I do, and it's funny. So I was as a supervisor, and it was a good job, great pay. Honestly, I could have stayed there and done that and been happy, other than driving down I-4 every day. That would have killed me in itself. But I was kind of mad because they kept passing me over for a promotion, and so I just stopped and I'm like, all right, I'm praying to God. I'm just saying, put me where I need to be. What? And 2 days later, I got the call, we're moving you. Okay, my promotion has come through. I'm moving. And they took very good care of me, and I appreciate that. So although I got fired, I'll never talk bad about the company, because they trained me to be able to do this, and I appreciate that. So then 2 years in, the job is stressful. We're going through an unprecedented outbreak of COVID. So everything is worse. I don't know. I'm a new manager, this and that. And then the stress was unbearable. And I was actually driving on my way to work. And again, just praying out loud, Lord, listen, you know how I feel. Put me where I need to be. Once again, that's my line. It's not give me this or give me that. It's just put me where I need to be. 4:00 that afternoon. Thank you, Andy. Have a nice life. I'm out. Best sleep I've had in 2 years. You know what I mean?
I can understand that.
I went home and it was a relief. Scary, but fortunately, again, I saved my pennies and put money back. I was fully vested in my 401k. I had plenty of money. So I was able to mess around for a little while and kind of find what I wanted. And I would do this sitting out in my driveway smoking a cigar. And so when I started looking around for something, and found Hemingway's and what it was, I got in my car. I drove down here the next day to look at it. Put a deposit down. Here we go. Let's try that. So, like I said, there's a couple more steps in there, but that's all. It was all fluff, and it was the way it needed to happen. So I got in here. We cleaned it up. I'm very grateful. I made some great friends in Georgia, and that gentleman actually came down and helped me paint and clean up and get the place ready. So the day after Thanksgiving in 2020, I opened the place up, and here we are, and just everything that happened. The friends I've made, the people I know, that all led me to Legacy. And when that place, when that store, the actual building became available to rent, again, it was the connections I made and the people I knew that made that happen. So again, I think successful people, they build a network, and they have people in their life, and it all comes together to be able to be where you're at, and that's where I am at the moment. And like everything else, though, it could change in a blink of an eye.
Definitely.
And that's something you always got to plan on.
You may have seen my eyes slightly light up when you were speaking, because as you were speaking, several lights went on above my head. Now, in most business schools that I'm aware of, the business school focus seems to be quantitative.
Right.
What's your sales? What's your sales ratio? What's your debt to service ratio? What's your EBITDA? You've heard all of this before. But rarely will you hear, perhaps even never, will you hear them talk about some of the things that you mentioned that involve skill stacking, that involve networking, that involve gratitude.
Absolutely.
These seem to have played pivotal roles in not only in your success, but in giving you that grit to move on to the next step.
That's correct. You had mentioned some stuff before we started taping, the things that it takes to run, and you mentioned grit and persistence, consistency. The research that I done while I was opening this place up, was one, you got to walk around town and you got to start talking to people. Hey, I'm thinking about buying Hemingway's. What made it go under? What happened to the old owners? Oh, well, nobody was ever there. No, people would come to the door. It was locked. There's nobody here. And then when they were here, there were kids running or younger people running it, and they were giving product away. So you just start listening. Okay, well, when does everybody start drinking down here? Well, around 2:00, people start coming out for lunch and they'll hang out and need a cigar. Because if you know Tavares, there's 15 restaurants and a couple bars and a pool hall, and it's a great little town. It's an entertainment town, and I love it. So I base my hours on when people are going to be here, and you base your menu on what people want, by asking around and what's going to happen, and so asking them what made it go under is consistency.
Absolutely.
So I drive
consistency that's not reflected on accounting tables.
Right, exactly. Yes. And something I drive my employees crazy over: consistency. Oh, we want to do this, we want to do that. Is that consistent with what I've put in place? And I'm not adverse to change, but there are certain things that make this place work within my financial ability. And you got to follow that, and you know what works, and you know how it works. That's what we need to do. So a lot of that applies, and that's not all of it. You need all the business then too. You need to know what your profit margins are and where it's going and how it's going. So that's something I look at. But how I do that is my corporate world taught me Excel. There is nothing better than a good spreadsheet.
Right.
You know what I mean? To show you what to do. And I love my Excel spreadsheets. And you can catch me about any time building one, creating one, changing one, because I like to know what's happening.
That, along with certain other things that some of us might, especially us men, might take for granted. I think women happen, and especially in retail, have a certain advantage over men, and I'll explain what I mean by that. Having had run retail businesses, chain of franchise, one of the things that a woman will pick up on right away that we men tend to not notice is cleanliness. Big deal. Big deal. Oftentimes I'll say they have the mother-in-law test where they run their finger along the counter to see if it's dusty.
Right.
Bathrooms, for example. A man can go into a bathroom and kick the toilet paper on the floor aside without even thinking about it.
Right.
Women won't revisit that establishment.
Right.
So some of these things that you and I would consider minutia that you just brought up are actually very important. And again, you won't find in any course, probably in a business school.
That's right. So, yeah, like I said, the guy who will be running tonight, he'll be here. First thing they do is clean the bathrooms. When I go to Legacy, first thing I do is clean the bathrooms. I personally feel, one, I want to use a clean restroom, and I know my customers do too. But I don't know. You can instill caring and all that into people, but I know what I like, and I try to base a lot of my business around that. And if I like it, then I'm hoping everybody else will too.
Now, usually people won't just jump into the cigar business without having been a aficionado previously, because it's something that requires passion and requires a certain knowledge of product as well as cigar etiquette.
Right.
And I know that you had been a cigar aficionado before. Now, there's quite a bit of a difference in terms of being an aficionado and actually running the business.
Correct.
In the same way that there's a difference between mom making cookies and suddenly Momco, right? Was there a big shift for you, a big jump in terms of taking something that you had an obvious passion for, the cigar business, and then actually going into the cigar business?
It wasn't a big leap coming in and doing this. So you think when you come into a business, you're gonna, my thought was all these vendors are gonna come visit me. It'll be easy. They'll ask me what I want. I'll order it. I already had a couple of the vendors, the wine and the beer. Fortunately in Florida, you have to go through vendors to buy your alcohol. So they actually did come around. I found the wine that I wanted. That was easy. Then there was the cigars. Well, I love cigars. I've been smoking them for a long time. I didn't necessarily know where to get them. So I opened this place up the day after Thanksgiving. My little cooler there full of what I at the time were cans of beer, because this is a walk around town. I thought, well, they can take them and walk around. Not necessarily the case. Nobody was buying my beer. I was like, oh, this is weird. There's maybe 5 boxes of cigars in the humidor. I opened up. I was just looking around trying to find it. Jumping into a business like that, it makes you really good on the internet really quick, because I had to find out where to get stuff. So 2 weeks into being open, we had a wedding party come in, and it must have been 80, 90 people. And as you can see, the place isn't real big. It was four deep at the bar. They drank all my beer, smoked all my cigars. Now the beer is fine. I could figure that out. Now my humidor is completely empty. What do I do? I don't know what to do. So, fortunately, I went over to Corona, and yeah, I get a little plug, and they helped me out. They helped me pick out some really good cigars. And
Coronas and Corona cigars.
Yeah, over in Lake Mary. This was on a Sunday, and so I ran over there before I came into work and picked up maybe 20 boxes, and they took really good care of me, and at least I had something to open the doors with. Shortly after that, I started finding all my vendors and finding out how to buy, where to buy, and I had done a little research before on some of it, but again, nobody really tells you any of this, and I didn't do enough research on that. So I'm very lucky that I made it the way I did. I probably paid too much for the cigars in the first place, but that balances itself out.
You learn by trial and error.
Exactly. So I finally got it. And once you figure out your margins and where it is and how to do it, then the rest is easy. But a lot of it, I think, is faith and luck that I didn't fall into that trap that I didn't do enough before I jumped into the business, and that's what I would tell anybody is make sure you do a lot of research before you try to jump into something. I did it out of necessity, and I felt like I had a hand on my back, hold me upright. And so that's the way I feel about it. So
research is extremely important. Due diligence.
Absolutely.
However, at the same time, that should not keep us from pulling the trigger either.
That's right. Opportunity will pass you by in a blink of an eye. Now, there was a cigar store that I went to in Georgia. I think it was D&D, and they were very helpful. They would answer all my questions about the registers and how they price their cigars, which for a customer you wouldn't think they would talk to me. But I'm like, no, listen, I'm moving to Florida. I've got a place there, and I just want a little info. So they were very helpful, and like I didn't get where to buy the cigars, but they told me a lot about the business in a very short time, and that was very helpful. So
you own 2 locations, but now, when we meet people, prospects, clients, customers, anyone, they're unbeknownst to them perhaps, or they may even realize they're running an interior dialogue on us, on who we are, what we look like, what we're saying. And you have 2 locations with 2 completely different vibes.
Yes.
Did you engineer these vibes differently with something in mind? With who would be patronizing the establishments, the cigar lounges, the cigar stores, or is this something that basically was pre-existing? How did you go about that?
I think here it was pre-existing. Everybody knew the location. It was a popular spot before a couple hands down, and I know part of it was me bringing some people in, and I know part of it was the customers, and they kind of create the atmosphere and how the place shapes. So really, it's a party town, and it's a lot of locals. We don't get as many tourists over here as we do in Mount Dora, although we're under a hotel. Still, it's a lot of local people, and local people bring their families in, so it's a lot. So that kind of shaped this place. Everybody's got live music, so we do live music. We do karaoke.
Oh, live music. That's nice, too.
Yeah, it is. And so, but we do it on a small scale. It's not like we have full rock bands, which I actually did that one night here. I had a heavy metal band. Great night, but the noise complaints were off the chart. And then when I opened Legacy, I knew that it was a touristy town, and I figured there would be some locals pop in and stuff, but most of it would be from that. So what I wanted is a place they could sit and relax, people watch, because you were at the festival. You know how many people were there. That's what I wanted. I wanted someplace just to chill out, relax. This place it's a 14-hour day job. It's a long day. That one's 8 to 10 hours depending on what day it is. Much easier on me because I'm not getting any younger. You know what I mean? So working 14 hours is a lot. I worked 7 days a week for the first year, and so back to your point on what it takes to go into business and whatever. Starting out, I couldn't pay anybody. I worked here for myself for nothing. You know what I mean? And
it sounds as though most of the marketing was done by word of mouth. Is that right?
That is correct.
Okay, so you didn't really have to have a large or a separate marketing budget.
I didn't, and so we had discussed earlier that the cost to open a business, you can spend a whole lot of money on advertising.
Oh my goodness, you can. Yeah.
But that doesn't mean
sometimes ineffective. Ineffective advertising.
That's the perfect word. Golf courses call me, hey, put your cigar stuff on our golf carts, and I've tried it. No ROI on it, just none. And I do put my ad in one of the magazines, biker magazines. So I do stuff that I think helps. And the last thing I've done that I think has helped is it was a credit card point system there, where they actually advertise through their network to get people in here to spend money to get points for the card. That seems to be working pretty well.
Oh, that's nice. Okay.
Yeah. So there is stuff that works. You just have to try different stuff and what works for you. Now this is a smoking bar, so that probably doesn't help me a whole lot on some of it, because I will have people that will come, they'll sit outside, they won't come inside.
Because of the smoke?
Because of the smoke. So, but you have to pick which direction you want to go.
Exactly.
Well, if it's raining outside, this is a pretty good place to be all of a sudden, Right. So that's where it's at, advertising in that budget. But I didn't start this place with a whole lot. So one of the great things through COVID was they allowed you to withdraw from your 401k without penalty through the thing. So so I was able to take out a little money and not,
so that helped too.
Yeah, I was able to take some out without getting hit like that. So
so your financing was primarily self-financing.
Yes. Yeah.
You didn't have to go to a bank or investors or anything like that.
Correct. And so that's big. But for that, I also didn't have a great big budget.
So you actually purchased the business.
The business, yes. And purchased the business, and then stepped in and just it was actually 90% ready to go. It needed a deep cleaning and it needed some other stuff. But it was pretty ready. So you're right on one end. It would have taken a lot more if this place wasn't built out. The humidor was intact and stuff like that. Now I've improved it. I feel like I have. I put lights under the cabinet so you can see all the cigars, and put some more extra shelves in. But I do everything within a tight budget. And that's kind of what you got to watch your money, and that's important.
Something I noticed the moment that I met you, Andy, and I think anyone would notice, anyone would pick up on it, is that you were an extremely approachable and extremely nice person. It's one of those things that kids and animals tend to be very sensitive to, that they could pick up on without knowing the individual. Now, I believe personally that usually customer service is tied very much to the personality of the individual. What's your customer service philosophy for both Legacy as well as Hemingway's, and are they the same?
They are the same. So anybody that works here, including my son, you've got to work with me for a week. I come in and I train you. Now, Ryan, the gentleman I have in here today, he only works 1 day a week. So, but I made him come. I worked with him for 4 Saturdays before I let him by himself, and then I still sat behind the bar and watched him. I want to make sure my customers are taken care of. I don't care how busy it is. We cut and light every cigar if we're able. It's important. That's part of the experience. Sure, you can throw cigars at people and say, here, do whatever you want with them. But if you're sitting around here, I want an ashtray in front of you, and I want you to sit here and enjoy your cigar. That's what it's all about. And so same over at Legacy. I want that experience. When you come in, I want you to be wowed. And I don't know if that's just my edge over going to Coronas or going to another competitor, then that's what I do. And I like people, and I like you standing there, and when you're standing there lighting somebody else's cigar in front of them, they get a little wiggly, like they're ready for it. You know what I mean? That anticipation, and that creates the experience in their mind is, man, this guy's lighting my cigar for me. What the heck? Speaking
of which, because you have such a incredibly positive vibe, do you find people as a part of that customer service experience coming and asking you, almost as if you were mentoring them, about how to smoke a cigar, how to cut a cigar, how to light a cigar, or just a moment ago when I asked you, why does my cigar keep burning out? Do you have people coming up and asking you those kinds of questions?
Oh yeah, you get that. Hey, my cigar keeps going out. Well, it happens sometimes. It could be too much moisture, not enough moisture. Yeah, there's things that can happen. What kind of cut? I get a lot. Oh, what do you smoke? Well, I like the wedge cut.
And they'll ask you for recommendations.
Absolutely, and so I tend to send you my way of what I like. And honestly, everything in there, it's a very self-centered humidor anyway. This is all stuff that I like. I dare to say I've smoked every single cigar in here, and I like them. There's some I like better than others, and of course you're going to find that. But it's a very personal thing, and I take pride in putting my humidors together, and so that experience is all part of it.
You have experience in business now. You have experience in transportation logistics. You have experience in leading people, right? Now, one of the reasons why a company like McDonald's is so successful is they're able to take something very simple and duplicate it. X equals X, no matter where you are. You have 2 different locations with 2 different vibes. Do you find that it's difficult to maintain a certain standard ordering, the way you treat the businesses? Are they very different?
So I try to centralize everything, and you'll find the same paper towels here as you will over there. Just anything that I can do to make my life easier, and that's what it's all about. You can spend a whole lot of time running around, so I get my stuff from just a couple places. And it saves me a lot of time. All the cost is all about the same. So where you buy toilet paper, it's going to be expensive. It doesn't matter. You buy the tightly round commercial rolls, they're expensive. I don't care where you get it. It's easier though to have it shipped to my door. So that's what I do.
Speaking of shipping, are you involved in any kind of online activity in terms of selling cigars?
Not yet. So as I progress Legacy and move this one into a Legacy situation, I plan on doing that. The website's going to have to change and all this kind of stuff. So that's in the works. I don't know when, but it's coming.
Years ago, my wife and I called my wife the Prime Minister. We owned a chain of retail franchises in Southern California. It was called Color Me Mine, had to deal with ceramics. we made a fundamental business mistake that oftentimes new business owners make. We had one store that was doing very, very well, and then we opened another store using choosing the location through the home office's demographic studies, right? And that store never took off. Later on, I kind of figured out why, in spite of the demographic studies. That's a longer story. But the fundamental business mistake that we made, aside from relying on those demographics instead of just going ourselves and trying to apply the common American horse sense to it, was that we took, when with the store that wasn't doing well, we took from the budget of one to cover the other.
Right.
Right? And we've since learned that that's not the right thing to do, because if you have a store that's doing poorly, taking from one to cover the other is not going to change the situation. And we ended up hurting the cash flow. We ended up closing that store, but we ended up hurting the cash flow of the producing store.
Right.
But it forced us to be more efficient in some ways.
Right.
What do I mean by that? For example, instead of buying a whole bunch of inventory, we bought only what was necessary, and then we negotiated special arrangements with distributors.
Like a net 30.
A net 30,
yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
Or that they would give us, for example, a certain amount of product, and we would pay for the product as we went.
Right.
Can that be done in the cigar business, or do you have distributor, or is it basically, do you just simply buy the inventory and then you're done with it? You carry it as a cost.
I personally buy it. I don't want to have to owe anybody. So I try to budget in
Nothing like a layaway.
No. And so during the summer times when it's slower, you'll notice if you look at my humidor now, it looks pretty good, but I just restocked it. Snowbirds are back, things are a little better. But during the summertime, I let it run down, and I sell the product to pay my bills. But I actually do a little bit of that. This place has a bigger budget, mainly because I have beer and wine all the time. It's kind of a bar that has cigars. It's great. So some of the everyday bills, this one will pay. However, I have my distributor's license for that store over there, so I'll buy cigars and then put them in here and distribute them myself to here, and that kind of balances out the cash flow. So what this one does for that store does differently. So it all kind of works out, and I'm very careful with it because I agree with you. That's a good way to get buried, is start taking cash out of one.
Like hypothetically, for example, if you were having problems from what we did was, let's say, for example, you had problems with Hemingway, but Legacy was running well. So we did the equivalent of taking from Legacy to pay for Hemingway, and that was a big mistake.
Oh, right. And so that happens, especially in the summer. Legacy could be doing great. I'll buy a few extra boxes of cigars and bring over here just to make sure I have product, because that's a good way to lose customers, is not have what they want.
Right.
So my faster moving stuff, I really try to make sure that I have plenty of. Some of the other stuff, I'll just let it run down, and that's what you have to do.
Right.
So no, but I agree with that. It's robbing Peter to pay Paul is not a good business plan at all. It takes balance, and that's where your spreadsheets come in. When you're watching your cash all the time, you know what you can do and what you can't do, and that's what I do.
The reason I bring it up is you're a very wise person, very intelligent, and your EQ, emotional quotient, is also very high. However, there are going to be people who are watching us who are less experienced business people, less experienced entrepreneurs, and I think that having this frank discussion is very useful to them. You very rarely will you see the top business gurus exposing themselves that way, and that kind of transparency and honesty, I think, is important.
I agree, and I have I don't know, at least once a week, man, this is what I'm going to do when I retire, is I want to open up a store. What do I need to do? Well, get your checkbook out. Get your checkbook out, and in plan, plan if this is what you're going to do, plan it out. I'll help you with the cost, and I'll help you with this. In Mount Dora is a great place because you get a lot of tourists, and they'll come down from Michigan or whatever, and hey, we're going to open a lounge. I want to take your card. I'm going to call you. Can you help me through some of what you went through? Absolutely. I am, as long as you're not opening a store across the street from me, I'm more than happy to help you in any way I can. So sharing any of the knowledge that I have I think that's important, and I think it's part of who I am and what makes me me. And I want to help the people that I can and make them successful as well. So I want them to come back in 2 years, say, yeah, we opened it up. Thanks for the info. It helped. That's what I want. So
We're probably in the same age range, but putting age aside for a moment, do you think now the experience of owning your own business, being an entrepreneur, has fundamentally changed you such that now you wouldn't be a fit to work for anyone else in an employee capacity again?
Well, I like to eat, so if a push comes to shove, I'll work wherever I need to work. But it does. I put in 90 hours a week at one job for somebody else. Putting in 90 hours for myself is way better. I can tell you, it's worth it. You're on call 24/7, which I was at work, but I got to tell you, it's people who you surround yourself with. My phone does not ring very often with problems. We run things consistently and run it in a way that I don't need to be around because the staff is that good, and I trust all of them like that. I'm very fortunate that way.
No micromanaging.
If you ask them, there may be a little bit, but I try not to do that. I try to give a lot of leadway to my staff, and
Trust.
It is trust. As long as they're doing the right thing, and that's part of working with me is I try to make good decisions, and that's always doesn't happen. You can make mistakes, but they all try that hard. And for that, you got to take care of your staff. We take a trip every year. This past year, we went to St. Augustine. The year before, we went deep sea fishing. The whole staff, everybody, and their wives, and who are we take everybody. So you take care of them, and we actually closed the business for a couple of days, both of them, and take them out and take care of your staff. And I think that's something a lot of business owners miss. That when you have people that take care of you, you have to give some back. I sometimes I feel like I don't do enough. You do what you can, and that's what we do. And I think for that, I have staff that act like me, and I don't have to worry.
In the 1950s, it was rather uncommon for a female to be a very successful executive. Tupperware, however, was one of those exceptions. Now, you don't hear about this woman too often, but it was actually a woman who was the sales genius behind Tupperware. Her name was Bronnie Wise. And she once said that if you build the people will build the business. And I see that in you. I see that you've built a team that you could probably walk away from the business for a certain period of time. I wouldn't say too long. I'm not going to be unrealistic.
Right.
But at least you've built them to a level of competency and trust that you have that ability to do, and it's highly commendable.
Thank you. And I do like I like going to the convention in Vegas. I mean, who doesn't like to go to Vegas? But 3 or 4 days out, and you're nowhere close. If something happens, you're around your business. I know in my heart that the people who are here are going to take care of it like their own, and I don't have to worry. And that's a good feeling that I can do that.
I happen to notice in the corner you have a bit of a wine selection, and I enjoy a good wine myself. What are some of your favorite pairings between cigars and wine? Or do you not put or you do not pair the two together?
I personally don't.
Or maybe cigar pairings.
I like a good Malbec. So that if I'm drinking wine, that's usually what you'll catch me with. I own a beer and wine bar, but I'm a bourbon guy, so I like my bourbon.
Bourbon with a good cigar is not bad either.
No, it's excellent, and you can have any bourbon with any cigar, and it's going to be a good time. That's the way I see it on that. But we do have some good wines, and like the Chianti, if you like a drier wine. Excellent.
Right.
If on the sweeter side, we have an excellent port. So we have what? If you're a connoisseur and you like the wine with your cigar, we'll have something that'll pair with it.
One of your locations is named Legacy, and it's a very apropos, very apt name. What do you see, Andy, as your legacy?
So Legacy was I think we were talking just before was. I wanted to leave something for my kids. And whether they want it or not, I don't know. But this is a legacy for them. And if I can build my little empire and pass it on to my kids and let them do something like this, because I would love for them to have this opportunity, then that's what it's about, is giving back to my kids. You love your kids. You can't help it. You want to do the best for them, and you want them to have everything you have. And this has been a good life. And I love that, and I want it for them. So that's what the legacy was all about.
Andy, it's reasonably foreseeable that people who watch our conversation might want to reach out to you. Is it possible for them to reach out to you personally? Would they have to go through someone, and how would they do that?
No, absolutely. You can call Legacy. The phone there rings my cell phone, so I'm very reachable for any questions or anything that I can help with.
Andy, we've kind of covered a constellation of subjects in our short and very, very nice, very good conversation. Is there anything perhaps that you had in your mind or in your heart to mention that we didn't discuss, we didn't cover?
Just be faithful to God and listen to him when he talks.
Amen.
He'll drop opportunities in front of you, and you may not see them. Sometimes that opportunity is getting fired.
Yes, yeah, definitely.
It wrecks some people. Like I said, your ego and everything else. You gotta look past that and start looking for what makes you happy. Another job may have made me happy. I don't know. This is what I felt was presented to me, and this is what happened.
Creative destruction is how a famous American economist, Joseph Schumpeter, described it. And there's actually a Hindu god, Shiva, who is the destroyer. And not destroyer in a bad way, but in order to make way for the new. Right.
And I believe in that. He'll put you where you need to be. You have to ask.
You have to ask, and you have to ask, and you have to have faith. And you have to. It's not our timetable.
Right. That's the most important thing. Is you can talk about it, and I'll say there's more to just praying and asking. You have to have a positive outlook on life. If you dwell solely on, oh man, I got fired, I'm not worthy or whatever, I know better. I know my worth, and I have a positive outlook on life, and I try to convey that and put it out in the universe. Now, that doesn't mean I don't get down, but that only lasts for about 10 seconds before I slap myself and say, no, life is good, and it's positive, and there will be something coming along, and I know it.
There's a country song. I don't remember who sang it or what was the name of it, but I remember the theme was it sometimes the greatest blessings are unanswered prayers.
Garth Brooks.
Thank you.
Unanswered prayers. I think that's the song.
Oh, right. I'm going to have to look that up. Yep. But at least I remembered it. Yeah.
And that's really it. But you have to keep your eyes open, and you have to and your heart. It has to be open in order to receive all that. So, and I feel that's what happened.
Well, Andy, I don't believe that we met by accident. I'm very happy that I met you, and it's really been an honor to sit here and to speak with you.
Well, thank you. The honor is really mine.
Thank you. Have a frank discussion. I really do appreciate it. Thank you so much.
No, thank you.
And I hope we can continue this as a friendship as well, too.
Absolutely. Well, you know where to find me.
Absolutely.
Legacy Cigar.
Well, folks, thank you so much for joining us for another episode of All Business, No Bull. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Thank you so very much.